Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand, a podcast for leading financial professionals, or rainmakers, and their teams that offer support for securing a successful future. From marketing help to staffing structure, listen and subscribe for actionable insights from advisors and skilled professionals alike.
Good morning, C2P. It's 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. So it's a great time to take a coffee break. And I'm excited to have Kelli Knudsen make her C2P coffee break debut. Now, Kelli is J.L. Smith's controller and head of people and culture. So she's all around amazing. She's been with the firm for over a decade, even though she looks like she's 17. She started as an intern, growing into a leadership role and overseeing both the finance and HR teams. As an enrolled agent with a BBA in accounting from Cleveland State University, she combines deep expertise in tax strategy with a passion for building efficient, effective, people-focused systems. Kelli is part of the executive team that implemented the J.L. Smith's current compensation model and plays an active role in its annual reset, as well as leading initiatives like the Business Development Business Pool. As a frequent presenter on the Teamwork Movement, she is known for her ability to connect with numbers, strategy, and people to drive firm-wide success. Welcome, Kelli. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, obviously, as a mom of 3 under 4. I love a coffee break. So you will be seeing me drink my coffee throughout, right on cue. So perfect.
Cheers
Excited to be here.
Now, let's get to it, Kelli. Why is it important for advisory firms to have a clearly defined compensation philosophy?
Yeah, great question. So I bring a good perspective on both finance and people to this conversation. And from the finance side, what is a firm's largest expense? It's our people, right? It's our compensation. So like any investment, you have to have a clear strategy. So having a defined philosophy is going to give us a roadmap to not only attract, but to retain and reward the right people. So important that the right people are part of our organization, right? So it's aligning how we pay with who we are. So our culture, our values, where we're going as a firm. Without it, you're going to create uncertainty, right? And this leads to turnover. With it, you have transparency, not only for leadership, but most importantly, your team. Everybody is going to understand not what they're paid, but why.
I love it. Sign me up, Kelli. I'm sold already. What are the key elements of J.L. Smith's base plus incentive plus stake of the outcome model? I love this. We use it here at C2P as well. So please share.
Yeah, I love it too. So our model is built. It balances stability and motivation. So when we're looking at the stability component, base salary provides financial stability. It also keeps us competitive in the market, right? Which is so important when we're talking about getting those right people. So then let's speak to the motivation. So we have incentive compensation, which is going to be tied directly to revenue generation in a monthly sales bonus to those who are performing in that role. So like our advisors. And then finally, so stake in the outcome is going to be our quarterly wide firm payout for when we hit our revenue and profitability targets. And that's firm wide. So everybody's playing a role there. That ties back to our culture, our ownership mindset, core value. Everybody is invested in meeting the goal. It's not about a role. It's about how the firm performs. And we're building long-term commitment from everyone on our team. So everyone's bought in. We're all working towards the same goal. And what I love so much about this is it treats everybody like they're a big part, even if they feel like they're not. So like our receptionist, for example, like how do I control stake of profit? How am I like invested, right? And you are, right? You order our office supplies. That's a small expense, but small expenses add up. And then my favorite thing is business development. Every single person on our team knows what we do and speaks about us to other people. So we just recently smashed our life revenue goal for the quarter because someone in marketing referred someone over who did a big life policy. So I think that's really great to get everybody bought in, talking about what we do. Really, really important for driving that bottom line.
I love how it applies to entry level, even a new person to the industry. all the way to the top because you're getting the buy-in. You create that excitement, you create that culture. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's worth it. So I love this so much. The teamwork movement is about more than just advisor compensation. It's about career paths across the entire firm. Why was that change in thinking so important to your organization and to the teamwork movement?
Yeah, I think it's really important, but like thinking of myself, right? I'm not an advisor. Not everybody in our industry wants to be an advisor. So the old name, advisor career path compensation model, too narrow. We're unintentionally sending a message that only advisors have growth paths worth mapping. The truth is that operations, finance, HR, marketing, business development, they're all critical to our firm growing. So broadening to the teamwork movement allows us to encompass and develop every single role in our organization. That's going to bring loyalty. We're going to retain people. They're going to see a path to a future here and have all of those growth opportunities. So this is what I'm personally, obviously really excited about because my personal career here had started as an intern, right? So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to continue to develop this component even further and make sure that everybody can continue kind of on whatever path they want to, even if it's not an advisor path.
I love the fact that it could be an advisor path. It's like a rock climbing wall. It's not just straight up, but you're going to leverage the right people in the right seats so that everyone's got that synergy to move the business model forward. So sometimes you start climbing up and you realize on a rock climbing wall, it's not straight up. You got to veer to the right or to the left to get to the point where you need to be. So I love that it's all encompassing of the different layers and flavors within an organization. So how does having a clearly defined accountability chart support a compensation strategy that truly motivates both advisors and operations teams? Because we know those are kind of different mindsets. You have your hunters, you have your gatherers, and you've got those people in the back office that are lifting everybody up. So how does this help?
Yeah, sure. So when we think about an accountability chart, what do we think about? A visual, right? And what do visuals create? A lot of times clarity. So clarity in roles is going to be essential to fairness and pay. An accountability chart ensures that everybody knows how their work is going to connect to their goals, their incentives. When you align these responsibilities with measurable outcomes, the rewards feel earned and equitable, right? So that's really, really important. Just touching back, like that fairness component, right? So we want to eliminate gray areas where compensation might feel subjective. And this will help advisors and operation members see direct impact from their contributions to a team's overall success.
So can you give me an example? Like, I know this is not on the scripted questions, but can you give me an example of someone you brought into JLS and how this has really lit that fire and how it helped them grow? Can you give us maybe a real life story?
Yeah, of course. So I think the best example here is going to be in our operations lane. And obviously, Rob running that lane could probably speak more intelligently to that subject than I could. But like from an accountability chart standpoint, that lane is kind of built out in the most levels in our organization. So for somebody to see, hey, I'm in this CSA one box all the way at the bottom of this accountability chart, it makes sense. I see my compensation statement. I understand what it's tied to and what my role is and where I'm going, all of those types of things. It's doing all of that in like one comprehensive visual. Now, we don't have obviously salaries on our accountability chart, but like it ties it together, right? So I think even though definitely other paths outside of the advisor career path are also examples of this, that's one that's really clear because the accountability chart really shows those different levels, especially in our organization.
Very nice. And I from experience of working with JLS as a product specialist and helping with placing products in different buckets, I've seen in your organization people go from being a CSA to now a wealth manager. So also it's exciting because when I talked to this person who went from a CSA to a wealth manager, the excitement she had was amazing, and you can tell that she bought into the process and she wanted the firm's success. So there's a
Right.
lot of great things that happen when you
Yeah.
put it up there and you show people this is what your wall is. Which way do you want to go? Let's help you get there.
And yeah, I think that is so key, Kirsten, is having those people as examples because it can feel unattainable if you don't see other people doing it. So that's a really, really great example that we see people do it and we know it can be done.
It is, and I think real life examples, because no two people are exactly the same, but when they can see a path for themselves and they can put themselves in those shoes and see what that marathon or that sprint looks like, it gives them the confidence to move forward. What steps are essential when implementing a new compensation model? Because let's be candid, even if it's a positive change, change can be hard for people to digest. It makes people uncomfortable. Not everybody leans into change, even though it's going to provide them a stronger outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this question. Being a controller, I always start with the numbers, right? So the first thing is to create that forecasted P&L, your income statement. Identify your firm's critical number, the financial targets that is really going to drive your decision making, right? So important. The numbers matter at the end of the day. Then what you're going to want to look at is equity, buy-in options. Are you bringing on practicing partners? Are you bringing on principals? And from there, you get to get a plan, right? The plan is arguably the most important. You got to anticipate the challenges because, like you said, Kirsten, people don't like change. So anticipate some of those things so you can overcome them from the start. Set a realistic timeline. And then this is so important. Communication is key. So having a clear communication strategy is going to be essential to this being successful, right? And if it's a big shift, I think it's important to give yourself some grace, roll it out in phases. If it gains buy-in and minimizes disruption, go ahead. It doesn't have to be done overnight, right? I know Brian Bibbo, and I hate this, I hate this phrase as a vegetarian, but like he always says, what's the best way to eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time, right? Like, so when you're tackling something really big, like little by little.
So for you, we should say how to eat a head of lettuce one leaf at a time. Is that right, Kelli?
Yes, yes. I'm like, I hate this, but like, I find myself thinking of it all the time because things look really big and they look really scary. And like, I even tell like my 4-year-old that I'm like, like one step at a time, right? Like things are scary and we're going to go one step at a time.
So help me understand, when you started this, you talked about clear, concise communication. How did you roll this out to your team? Like, did you do it via a video? Was it one-on-one? Was it an all hands meeting? How did you roll this out to be successful?
Absolutely. Yep. And I have a bullet point that speaks to one of the other questions too, but I think gaining that almost ownership from key people from the start is going to be really important because they feel like they're a part of it as opposed to being told it, right? So I remember when we were first having these meetings, like it wasn't only an executive team, like maybe the first meeting was right, because you really have to like get your ducks in a row. But after that, like having some of these key people who are affected in these meetings with you, they feel like they own it. They feel like they're a part. They feel heard. And that is so important. I think that was one of the best things that we did to make this successful was we really put the emphasis on our people, which are our best asset.
I agree. I mean, people will forget what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel. So getting the buy-in is so important. Now, is it going to be easy? No. Are there going to be bumps in the road? Absolutely. How do you deal with, or how do you overcome? Because every organization has their negative Nancy or their person who's going to try to poke holes in it just to see what kind of outcomes could be. How do you overcome perhaps that person who's a little stuck?
Yeah. So there's I mean, you said it best, right? Change is hard. A lot of people don't like change. And we have high performers who thrived under old models, right? So I think they see the new plan as maybe a step back. Others can see it as complicated, less fair, especially if you aren't explaining it well. So you have to strike a balance between short-term payouts, long-term incentives, not relying too heavily in one direction, right? So back to those are the challenges. Now, how do you overcome them? So I said it before, I'll say it again. Over communicate. So transparency is the antidote to resistance. We want to share the why behind the change. Everybody knows what. share the why. And then this is what I just talked about, right? Involving those key influencers early in the process so they're not surprised. Use modeling, show them they can still win, or ultimately, if it is true, show them how they can do better under a new structure, right? Show them that it might not be right away, but over the years, how is this going to benefit them? Finally, adjust quickly, Kirsten. If something isn't working, do not wait a full year to make changes. Do them timely. It shows those people you hear them, you're listening, you're invested in them.
I am buying in, Kelly. I love this. I kind of rolled into our next question. Are there any other challenges besides potentially people who are adverse to change that you've seen?
Um, no, like I said, I think we're all kind of, I mean, at least I am, right? Which is crazy because I'm part of a team that like thrives on change, but change is really hard. So I think that's the biggest thing is just, listen to your people, over communicate and listen. Those are like my underlying themes today.
I love it, Kelly. But you are a controller, so you're a numbers person as well as human resources. So you tend to be the rock that holds everyone steady. So I love that because you bring a lot of value to the team when creating a new environment. How can firms ensure that their compensation plan stays relevant and competitive over time? Because let's face it, the world is changing. AI is making waves and people are getting concerned about their own roles, but everything's always moving forward. So how
Right.
do you stay relevant and competitive?
Well, just like anything else, right? Like our budget, like these things are living, breathing systems, and we want to treat them like that. It's not a one and done. You don't do it one time and it's done. It's something you're constantly looking at. Um, at the least, you want to review it annually, right? Obviously, that's a great time to look at studies. So, like we use DFA, Schwab, benchmark against the market. Really important to stay relevant. Listen to your feedback from the team. Make those adjustments if your firm's vision or your target market is changing. Make those adjustments in real time. Like I said, living, breathing document. Don't set this and then never look at it again. It's something that we constantly have to be thinking about. And I do want to talk about my favorite tool here. So the compensation statement is amazing. It shows every employee their full value of their package. So, Kristen, if I ask somebody what they make, they're probably going to tell me their base salary, right? So we kind of want to get ahead of that and be showing them all the time, like, this is the full value of your package. Yeah, you have this base, but you also have all of these other incentives. You have the bonus pool, you have SINO, you have, if you're an advisor, you have that monthly sales bonus. So I think using that total compensation statement is really powerful to remind them, hey, our firm is investing in you and it's probably more than you think, right?
I agree with that statement because we have to remind people of what we're investing in them. Our most important resource, like you said, is our team. Is there a percentage of total revenue or net profit that's allocated to employee bonuses at JLS?
There is. So when we're looking at our bonus pool, and this is something that is new that we actually implemented, 2025 was our first year. So what we looked at when we were doing our budgeting, we are very key on hitting that profitability number. Our net profit margin is like so important to our firm, obviously because of SITO, but also to our business owners, right? So we found that what was attainable for our firm was to pay out 2%. So 2% of all of the compensation we had allocated in bonus pool. Now we looked at each lane from there and then allocated it accordingly because we're not going to split it evenly over all of our lanes because we have the operations lane, for example, that has 15 people in it. And then we have business development marketing that have two. So we kind of evened out what those lanes would look like based on the people. And then the managers really took it into their hands, right? So I think we touched on it, like setting goals, goal-driven people, how they earn that bonus pool. So everybody, whether they're really small amounts of money or not, everybody in our firm is probably like your firm's motivated by money. So even that 2% of the total comp has motivated our people to achieve goals they may not have otherwise.
I've found that people do like that extra bump in pay. They love the bonus, especially when they know how to get there based on their performance. But let's kind of talk about the elephant in the room. JLS is a big organization. We have bigger organizations, we have smaller organizations. How can smaller advisory firms design a competitive compensation plan without exhausting their finances? Because it is competitive. And at the end of the day, if they exhaust their finances and they're not here the next year for their clients, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I don't know if this will answer your question in the way you're wanting it answered, Kirsten, but I was just talking about this the other day. Our people value not only compensation in their paycheck, but they value um like a culture and a like-minded group of people, and we really try to reward our employees in other ways as well through like creating a culture that maybe if you can't afford to pay them that bonus, you have other things that you do that kind of equate out to that, maybe not perfectly financially, but like in their mind they're seeing it kind of equal. So I'll use an example. So we have a team health calendar. So every month we roll out a calendar to our employees, and there's different things on it. And they can be silly things like National Hot Pretzel Day, right? And we have pretzels in the office for everybody. Or it could be like it's National Martini Day and we have like a team happy hour. So things like that, while they're not compensation in the sense of money going directly into your pocket, they really motivate people more than you think. And I know it's kind of funny because you always see the posts online and it's like, I wanted a bonus and I got a pizza party, but like our people really love these things. And when we can't afford to pay out SIDO, when we can't afford bonuses, or if you're a small office and these are really small amounts, this is a really inexpensive way to kind of add into that without putting the money directly into their pockets.
I'll take a pizza party. Go ahead and throw some pineapple. Yes, I'm being controversial, Kelly. But I want to back up to one thing that you did mention and allude to KPIs. What data, what KPIs should firms track to know if their compensation plan is actually working? Because at the end of the day, we all want a road to run on. We want KPIs that can be measurable, achievable, believable, and scalable. So is GLS tracking?
Well, we track everything. So we have gotten really good about having all the data to back up all of our decisions. But the best places to start, I mean, what are the things that we go over in our high level meeting, right? We don't go over every single number, even though we're tracking them all. So I think the biggest things are on a quarterly basis. We are tracking every week where we are at with our gross revenue, where we're at with our gross profit. Gross profit is so important because it's showing what we're bringing in after we pay out the people who are bringing in the money, right? So that direct expense, it's our cost of goods sold. We have to net out what we pay the advisors, and that gross profit number is important. If you're way off there, you're not going to have enough money to pay your light bill, right? Or your good people who support the advisors. And then that net profit, right? So tracking these, like I said, we have those quarterly goals, but really looking at them every single week in that executive meeting. So we aren't running backwards, trying to figure out where we need to correct at the end of the quarter. We're on top of it every single week, looking at these numbers. And then looking at the year, looking at that every week as well, because we know how fast time goes, right? Those numbers are going to be here. It's already Q3 and it feels like we just started 2025. So keeping these things in front of you instead of looking backwards are really important KPIs, and they're doable for any firm. Like I said, we track a lot of different things. Those are the biggest things that like our owners, partners, everyone wants to see every single week.
Well, I like the fact that you're looking at them weekly. You don't drive a car by only looking in your rear view mirror. You got to look forward. So I love the fact that you're tracking weekly and doing course corrections as needed, because we don't know what the future holds. Things happen. So I think that's a great measure and a great plan. So looking ahead, are you seeing any upcoming changes or trends that may shape the future of advice
Yeah,
and team compensation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't actually have all of the details yet, but just a little spoiler alert, we're currently working on something at JL Smith. That's a business development bonus pool. Now we talked about business development, right? And how even your receptionist can be doing it by having referrals. So it's something we're mapping out. Still, we don't have details. We're in the very first stages, but it's something we're really excited and hopeful to bring in 2026, that we can have a business development bonus pool available that's energizing all of our employees around business development efforts. Because, hey, like, we pay lots of money to our employees, but we pay lots of money in marketing, right? So what is a lead that's a referral cost? Probably nothing, whereas our marketing leads are really expensive. So bringing in those bonus development, if we have to pay out a bonus to these people, it's probably still less than we spend in a marketing lead, and you tend to get better people. It just works out that way. So really, really excited, and more to come on that, hopefully in the near future as we kind of iron out details and see what that looks like. But that's something that I'm really personally excited about bringing to JL Smith.
That's exciting because when you have your team members giving you referrals, they bought in. And that might be an overused statement, but they are grounded in your business. So that's amazing. I look forward to hearing more about that. Now, Julie Hammer did say, I had a former manager that would award PTO hours for those who would pick up shifts if he thought they were going the extra mile. So sometimes compensation is tangible benefits, like a day off or extra half day or whatever it may be, but it speaks to the person for doing and going the extra mile. So I love that, Julie. Thanks for sharing. Now, Kelli, as we're wrapping up and coming to the very bottom of this 30 minutes, which went quickly, just like 2025 is blown by us, how can firms use compensation models and career development to inspire advisors to be more proactive in the firm's overall growth?
Yeah, so it really just comes down to connecting growth to reward in a visible way. So, like we talked about, design bonus pools, incentives that value collaboration and growth initiatives, not only those individual sales, right? So, make it clear that the firm's growth impacts everybody, everyone's compensation. Success feels shared, and that's the key. Build growth-oriented goals right into their annual reviews and career path milestones. That way it's in front of them on that annual basis. It's in their career path. They see that growth path for themselves, and take a proactive role that isn't extra. It's built into the way we work. So yeah, thanks, Kirsten.
Well, thank you, Kelli. Your energy is contagious. Do you have your team members help set their own goals so they have that buy-in as well at the beginning?
So this one, the answer is it depends. So we really want to put it on the managers to do these things. So we do have some managers, like one of the managers in my lane, for example, she'll sit down with our receptionist because she doesn't know necessarily the ins and outs of a lot of what they do, right? She knows kind of the bigger picture enough to manage them, but they help set their own goals because they're going to set goals that make the most sense for them. Whereas advisors, like, sorry guys, we're going to set your goals for you. We have a number to meet that ties back to that. So I know that it depends is like an answer people dread having, but it really does depend.
I love it though, because all roles are not created equal. So some of it will have to depend on roles. But Kelli, thank you for your inaugural coffee break session. I loved it. You bring great energy. And everybody else, thank you for joining us. Have a phenomenal day.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Never miss an episode by subscribing now to discover new resources and strategies. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help scale and secure your business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.